box while we're waiting. What did you get up to over Easter? We'll say hello to some people. Hello, Willow. 43 eggs, is that all? I had 44. I didn't really. Oh, dear. Lovely. There we go. That's that set up. Hello, Rowan. How are you? We'll start in a few minutes. I had a lovely weekend. I sat out in the garden and enjoyed the sunshine. I finished a book, which I was very annoyed about because I had guessed what was going to happen. It was a crime thriller because I love crime thrillers, but I read far too many of them and usually predict what's going on. And I managed to guess what was going to happen by about 20 pages in. I'd sort of guessed what was happening, but I was hoping I was going to be tricked and there was going to be a great old twist at the end, but there was not. Did the Easter Bunny bring Oscar anything? Well, funny you should say that. The Easter Bunny did bring Oscar some things. He or she, they bought Oscar some duck and apple treats and some grain-free teeth chews. Because he's on a grain-free diet now. Thank you. I did have a lovely Easter. I had a very happy Easter. I'll just go and get Oscar to say hello as he's desperately wait. Do you want to show everyone your tennis ball or? Yeah, you show everyone your tennis ball. Come on then. No? Okay. We'll come and say hello then. Oh, here he is. Hello. Oscar's been out for a 45-minute walk this morning with my husband, and I'm going to take him out for a 45-minute walk this afternoon about 4 o'clock. And he's a little bit upset because the sun's gone in and there are no shadows to chase. Are there, mate? No shadows to chase. But he is fine. Generally, thank you for asking. He does have a challenge set up for you today that he's thought of this morning. So he might be back later to tell you. Are you ready to go down? No? You're a bit big to be doing this, Oscar. You are. Go on, go down. Whoa! There he goes. Right, he's gone to get a tennis ball. Lovely. Shall we start soon then? I mean, you're welcome to just watch me rambling on. Anna Langley, do you read the same author? No, I read lots of different authors. So I'm currently reading on my crime thriller list. I'm currently reading a book called Sleep by C.L. Taylor, which is reminding me a little bit of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. But so far, I'm impressed. And I've also, someone recommended Katerina Diamond. And I've just finished reading In the Woods by Tana French, I think it is. I'm just looking at my Kindle. Which was very good, very atmospheric. And I have also got lined up The Wicked Boy by Kate Summersdale, or Summerscale, I think, as well. So lots of reading to be doing. Lovely. Okay, shall we get started then? I hope everyone's okay. I thought we'd warm up with a little bit of sign language, just some revision from what we did last week. And then I thought we'd go over The Owl and the Pussycat, see what you can remember for the sign language of that. And then we've got a story. Let's get started then, shall we? Okay, are we up? Are we ready? Are we feeling limber? I'm not sure. I'm not feeling particularly limber myself. I have to say, I've started this couch to 5K. See, children, you can probably run for ages and ages and ages without even worrying, but us adults are all old and achy and creaky and cracky. So I've just started week 3 of the Couch to 5K. I used to be able to run 10K really quite easily, but I haven't run for a long time. So on the running machine, though, I'm not going out twice. I'm only going out once to walk the dog, once, and then running on the running machine, not going out twice. Okay, what were we doing today? Oh, we're still in Easter mode. It is the Easter holidays, isn't it? It is the Easter holidays. We can have a little day off. We can do a Mariah Carey New Year's Eve where she just walked up and down whilst the track played in the background and she didn't do much. Anyway, okay, so some sign language. We were looking at food, weren't we? Let's see what you can remember. Can you remember the sign for tea? Tea. Coffee? You show someone? Coffee. That's C, wasn't it? Coffee. Orange juice. 2 signs. Orange juice. Did you remember that? How many are you getting so far? We've got milk. That one looks a bit like milk. What else have we got? Pasta. Those fingers like that and then twisting. Pasta. Yep. Rice. Got that one? Rice. How many are you remembering? What else have we got? We've got meat. Because the grey wolf had mutton in his maw. Meat. Chicken. Can you remember chicken? Chicken. Sausages. Can you remember sausages? We had sausages last week with onion gravy and mash because we managed to get some potatoes. Yay! Sausages. Sausages, lovely. Pork, can you remember pork? Well done. Curry, can you remember curry? That was a tricky one, that one. It was a C and then a curry. Curry. Can you remember that? Like it's very hot. What else have we got? Some vegetables now. Mushroom. Mushroom, that's like the stalk. Mushroom. Cabbage. How many are you remembering? Onion. Can you show someone onion? Do you remember onion? Onion. Well done. Some fruit. Banana. Remembering banana? Banana, peeling it. Well done. Grapes. You can either hold it like that. Grapes. Well done. We've got a few more. Let's see what we can remember. Butter. Well done, if you've remembered that one. Butter, and then we've got cake and biscuit. Cake and biscuit. How many of those did you remember? It's been a while since we've done those ones. How many did you remember? Which one was the most difficult to remember? Have you been practicing? Who's to know? So, next week, I thought we might do, we've done animals, we've done food. I thought we might do some weather and transportation next week. So being able to describe the weather and also different things like car, lorry, train, that sort of thing. So some transportation. Okay, let's carry on then and see a little bit of revision. If we can remember the owl and the pussycat. I'm not sure I can remember it actually. Let's have a go though. Are we all standing up? Are we ready to go for the owl and the pussycat? We probably haven't done it for a while. Oh, well done, Helen Louise. You remembered 5 of them. That's pretty good. Okay, the owl and the pussycat. Let's have a go then. Are we ready? You might have done the body coach this morning, so you might be feeling limbered up and ready to go anyway. Let's go, the owl and the pussycat. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money wrapped up, oh, money, sorry, wrapped up in a £5 note. The owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar. Oh, lovely pussy, oh, pussy, my love, what a beautiful pussy you are, you are. What a beautiful pussy you are. Oh my goodness, that was difficult. That was difficult this week. I think it's because I haven't practiced it for a few weeks. So it was sort of, I was thinking, oh, I can't remember it. So really important to keep practicing all this sign language. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea green boat. Yeah, so just keep practicing all of that sign language. Okay. Are we ready then for our story? I was going to get a little stool to sit on, but I haven't got one. So I thought this linked in this story quite nicely with the theme of Easter, and it's also a classic story by Oscar Wilde. I first discovered Oscar Wilde when I read the portrait or the picture of Dorian Gray, which is one of my favourite books. And adults, it's a really great book. It's not too long either if you fancy reading it. But this is one of Oscar Wilde's children's story, and it's called The Selfish Giant. And we do have in the Reading Realm app, I don't think I've mentioned this app before. We do have in the Reading Realm app, we do have an extract from The Selfish Giant with creative writing activities, games, discussion guides, all of those things. Okay, but this, The Selfish Giant, is from The Happy Prince and Other Tales by Oscar Wilde. And the version that I've got is illustrated by Walter Crane and Jacob Hood. And it contains this set of stories. It contains The Happy Prince, The Nightingale and the Rose, The Selfish Giant, The Devoted Friend, and The Remarkable Rocket. Lots of them are quite sad, actually, and this is a little bit sad at the end. So, children, if you're watching, just be prepared that it's a little bit sad at the end, but fits in well with our Easter theme. Parents, if you've got particularly sensitive children, you might want to just think about whether they watch it or not. But it's a pretty lovely story, really. So, The Selfish Giant. You could probably start by maybe telling someone next to you, what does the word selfish mean? What does it mean if we're selfish? Have you heard that word before? The selfish giant. How might a giant be selfish? And a really good thing to think about when we're thinking about the meanings of words, I'm off on a complete tangent now, I apologise, is rather than just giving a word a definition or looking up the word in the dictionary, which is helpful, you can also explore how it's like and how it's unlike another word. So you could say, for example, how is the word selfish similar or like the word mean? How is the word selfish dissimilar or unlike the word mean? So you might, for example, want to explore words in that context, how it's like something and how it's unlike something. A really good one. I'll just have a little sip of my coffee and then we'll get started. Every morning my husband's been coming in about 8 o'clock and bringing me a coffee, which has been really lovely. I've never had that before. So it's a little bit early, 8 o'clock, but I suppose I do have to get up and work, so who are we to complain? You can probably just hear a horrible slurping noise at the moment. Hello, everyone that's joined. We're just about to start on The Selfish Giant. Similar to greedy, yes, indeed. Okay, Love this story. The Selfish Giant. Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in the giant's garden. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars, and there were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl, and in the autumn bore rich fruit. The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games in order to listen to them. "How happy we are," they cried to each other. Whose garden do you think they might be in? One day the giant came back. He had been to visit his friend the Cornish ogre and had stayed with him for 7 years. After the 7 years were over, he had said all that he had to say, for his conversation was limited, and he determined to return to his own castle. When he arrived, he saw the children playing in the garden. "What are you doing here?" he cried in a very gruff voice, and the children ran away. "My own garden is my own garden," said the giant. "Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself." So he built a high wall and all around it and put up a notice board that said, let's see what the notice board said, shall we? He put up a notice board, this selfish giant, that said, see if you can read this. See if you can get there before I do. What do you think it's going to say? That's what he put up. "My own garden is my own garden," said the giant. "Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself." So he built a high wall all round it and put up a notice board. "Trespassers will be prosecuted." He was a very selfish giant. The poor children had nowhere to play. They tried to play on the road, but the road was very dusty and full of hard stones, and they did not like it. They used to wander round the high wall when their lessons were over and talk about the beautiful garden inside. "How happy we were there," they said to each other. Then the spring came, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Only in the garden of the selfish giant it was still winter. The birds did not care to sing in it as there were no children, and the trees forgot to blossom. Once a beautiful flower put its head out from the grass, but when it saw the notice board, it was so sorry for the children that it slipped back into the ground again and went off to sleep. The only people who were pleased were the snow and the frost. "Spring has forgotten this garden," they cried, "so we will live here all the year round." The snow covered up the grass with her great white cloak, and the frost painted all the trees silver. Then they invited the north wind to stay with them, and he came. He was wrapped in furs, and he roared all day about the garden and blew the chimney pots down. "This is a delightful spot," he said. "We must ask the hail on a visit." So the hail came too. Every day for 3 hours he rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates, and then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. He was dressed in grey, and his breath was like ice. "I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming," said the selfish giant as he sat at the window and looked out at his cold white garden. "I hope there will be a change in this weather." But the spring never came, nor did the summer. The autumn gave golden fruit to every garden, but to the giant's garden she gave none. "He is too selfish," she said. So it was always winter there, and the north wind and the hail and the frost and the snow danced about and through the trees. One morning, the giant was lying awake in bed when he heard some lovely music. It sounded so sweet in his ears that he thought it must be the king's musicians passing by. It was only a little linnet singing outside his window. What's a linnet? Can you write in the comments box what do you think a linnet is? We've heard that word before. It was really only a little linnet singing outside his window, but it was so long since he had heard a bird sing in his garden that it seemed to him to be the most beautiful music in the world. Then the hail stopped dancing over his head, and the north wind ceased roaring, and a delicious perfume came to him through the open casement. "I believe the spring has come at last," said the giant, and he jumped out of bed and looked out. What did he see? He saw a most wonderful sight. Through a little hole in the wall the children had crept in, and they were sitting in the branches of the trees. In every tree that he could see there was a little child, and the trees were so glad to have the children back again that they had covered themselves with blossoms and were waving their arms gently above the children's heads. The birds were flying about and twittering with delight, and the flowers were looking up through the green grass and laughing. It was a lovely scene. Only in one corner it was still winter. It was the farthest corner of the garden, and in it was standing a little boy. He was so small that he could not reach up to the branches of the tree, and he was wandering all round it, crying bitterly. The poor tree was still quite covered with frost and snow, and the north wind was blowing and roaring above it. "Climb up, little boy," said the tree, and it bent its branches down as low as it could, but the boy was too tiny. And the giant's heart melted as he looked out. "How selfish I have been," he said. "Now I know why the spring would not come here. I will put that poor little boy on the top of the tree, and then I will knock down the wall, and my garden shall be the children's playground for ever and ever." He was really very sorry for what he had done. So he crept downstairs and opened the front door quite softly and went out into the garden. But when the children saw him, they were so frightened that they all ran away, and the garden became winter again. Only the little boy did not run, for his eyes were so full of tears that he did not see the giant coming. And the giant stole up behind him and took him gently in his hand and put him up into the tree. And the tree broke at once into blossom, and the birds came and sang on it, and the little boy stretched out his two arms and flung them round the giant's neck and kissed him. And the other children, when they saw that the giant was not wicked any longer, came running back, and with them came the spring. "It is your garden now, little children," said the giant, and he took a great axe and knocked down the wall. And when the people were going to market at 12 o'clock, they found the giant playing with the children in the most beautiful garden they had ever seen. All day long they played, and in the evening they came to the giant to bid him goodbye. "Where is your little companion?" he said, "the boy I put into the tree." The giant loved him the best because he had kissed him. "We don't know," answered the children. "He's gone away." "You must tell him to be sure and come tomorrow," said the giant. But the children said they did not know where he lived and had never seen him before, and the giant felt very sad. Every afternoon when school was over, the children came and played with the giant, but the little boy whom the giant loved was never seen again. The giant was very kind to all the children, yet he longed for his first little friend and often spoke of him. "Oh, how I would like to see him," he used to say. Years went over, and the giant grew very old and feeble. He could not play about any more, so he sat in a huge armchair and watched the children at their games and admired his gardens. "I have many beautiful flowers," he said, "but the children are the most beautiful flowers of all." One winter morning, he looked out of his window as he was dressing. He did not hate the winter now, for he knew that it was merely the spring asleep and that the flowers were resting. Suddenly, He rubbed his eyes in wonder and looked and looked. It certainly was a marvellous sight. In the farthest corner of the garden was a tree quite covered with lovely white blossoms. Its branches were all golden and silver fruit hung down from them, and underneath it stood the little boy. Downstairs ran the giant in great joy and out into the garden. He hastened across the grass and came near to the child. And when he came quite close, his face grew red with anger, and he said, "Who hath dared to wound thee?" For on the palms of the child's hands were the prints of 2 nails, and the prints of 2 nails were on the little feet. "Who hath dared to wound thee?" cried the giant. "Tell me, that I may take my big sword and slay them." "No," answered the child, "but these are the wounds of love." "Who art thou?" said the giant, and a strange awe fell on him, and he knelt before the little child. And the child smiled on the giant and said to him, "You let me play once in your garden. Today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise." And when the children ran in that afternoon, they found the giant lying dead under the tree, all covered with white blossoms. There you go. That's the selfish giant. Oh, a very sad one, that one. Excuse me. But lovely. Who was the little boy? Who do you think the little boy was? Pop in the comments box. Who's the little boy? Who could he be? A really interesting story, that one. About, well, perhaps you could tell me what one of the main themes are. What do you think? Who do you think the boy is? Who do you think the boy is? And 2, what are the main themes in the story? What do you think the main themes are? Or maybe you might have heard an adult say to you, what's the moral of the story, maybe? You might have heard that. So we've got some answers coming in already. Who do you think the boy is? So we've got Jesus, God. There were some clues there, weren't there, that he had prints of nails in both his hands and in his feet. But he said to the giant that they were wounds of love. So that might give you a clue, and it might link up with a story that you know that's happened over Easter. You might have heard the Easter story according to the Bible. And then the second question, so lots of you have got it. The boy, there's definitely some clues that the boy is perhaps Jesus. What do you think the main themes are, or the moral of the story? What do you think the message of the story is? Themes are love and forgiveness. Yeah, absolutely. Love, forgiveness. And interestingly, that forgiveness goes both ways, doesn't it? The children, it goes lots of different ways, actually. The children forgive the giant for being mean to them and not letting them, allowing them to play. The giant forgives the children. He thinks they've trespassed and they don't have any right to be in his garden. But also the little boy forgives the people who have wounded him, and he says they're wounds of love. And perhaps interestingly, the giant forgives himself as well, doesn't he? The giant starts off being particularly mean and then realizes the error of his ways, so perhaps he has to forgive himself as well. Kindness, yes, being kind to others. I did think about as well redemption. When you're redeemed, when you learn the errors of your way and you're forgiven, so redemption. So yeah, some really good ideas for themes there. Lovely story. Hopefully you enjoyed that one today. Now, I've got some suggestions for some art that you can do with this one. Oh, the other thing, the last thing that I wanted to point out, something that I thought of while I was planning it, because I do actually plan these things very vaguely, but it linked quite nicely with a myth that we heard the other week. Can anyone remember the ancient Greek myth that we heard the other week that this story links in with? About the seasons and about winter taking over and spring and summer retreating and hiding. Can anyone remember what ancient Greek myth that we heard the other week that the selfish giant links in quite nicely with about the seasons? See if you can comment in the box. So which ancient Greek myth that we discovered the other week does this link in with? I'll give you a clue. It begins with P. See if you can remember. Don't worry about your spellings. Just pop it in the box, in the comments box. What was that ancient Greek myth that we heard? That's right, Persephone. Because in that story, Persephone is taken to the underworld by Hades, and he agrees that he will only keep her there for 6 months. And during that 6 months, winter comes and freezes everything. And then we have, when she returns to the world, we have spring arrives. And the other thing that's interesting in both stories is how nature is personified, isn't it? So, for example, in The Selfish Giant, the tree bends down and stoops down to pick up the little boy. So when we personify something, when we personify nature particularly, we give it human qualities. So so the flowers hang their head and they hide away from winter, and in The Selfish Giant, the north wind and hail are quite mean and evil, and it says that they wore grey. So that's called personification, when we give human characteristics to nature. So things that aren't human, we give them. So there's a lovely line in one of my favourite children's books, Harvey Angel. There's a lovely line at the beginning about the daffodils nodding their heads to the little boy as he walks past them. Okay, and that's an example of personification. So an art idea that you can do with this one that's really lovely, actually. I'll show you the best I can. I'm sorry, Mrs. Cowie, I forgot to get a bit of tissue paper to rub the board off. So it's going to look messy, I'm sorry. There we go. Right, so if you get a piece of paper, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can split it up into 4, and in it you can put a silhouette of a tree, like so. They don't all have to be the same. They could be different shapes, okay, different sizes. Yeah, so a silhouette, so like a black outline of a tree. And then in each one, you can either paint or colour the different seasons. So for example, if I was going to do winter, the tree might be bare, and we might have some snowflakes in there, and we might have some snow falling and some snow here. I might even add a little snowman in. Okay. That sort of thing. And If I was doing spring, I might use different colours. And I might have little daffodils poking up, nodding their heads, and I might have some flowers poking up. And you could do a really nice sunset perhaps in the background. Yeah. So you could do a really nice, watercolours work particularly well with this actually, a wash background. Okay, so they look really impressive when they're finished and when you choose different colours for each one. Okay, the other one that you can do if you want to, that's quite nice, let's just get that little bit of paper again. So you can paint that, you can do it however you want. The other thing that you can do is have a circular shape, like so. And then you could have a tree that goes across the whole. Okay? The whole one. And then in each quarter, you can have one quarter winter with the snowflakes. Okay? And you can have another one, could be a lovely summery sunset with the sun shining. Okay? And really think about which colours you might want to use. Okay? And you could have some lovely washes in the background. Okay? So that was little Oscar's challenge, his art challenge for the day. I don't think he's got anything else to add to that, but you could do some art linking to the seasons if you wanted to. Okay. And as always, if you do decide to do some art or some creative activities linked to the story we've just read, The Selfish Giant, you can email it to ian@thereadingrealm.co.uk, or you can post it on our Facebook group, the Reading Realm Facebook, or you can tweet me it if you want. So I'm at the reading_realm on Twitter. You can do that if you want to send us some artworks. Alternatively, you could write your own story around one of the themes of being selfish or redemption or forgiveness. So you could write a story about a character being selfish and then learning the errors of their ways. You might want to write a story about a giant. You might want to draw a picture of a giant. Okay, lots of different activities that you can do linking the selfish giant. Okay, so that is me for today. Remember, on Thursday we have our wonderful Reading Realm book quiz. So you can join in with that if you want. It would be lovely to see you. Thank you very much, as always, for spreading the word about the Reading Realm. We need to say before we end, The Emancipation of Mimi, Mariah Carey's seminal album, is 15 years old this year, and it's the anniversary of it, so I shall be spending the day listening to some Mariah and doing some work. I hope whatever you get up to today, you have fun. The sun is peeking out just as we finish the story, which is lovely. Take care. Have a lovely, lovely time. And I will see you all soon. Bye, everyone. Take care.